Hello everyone. Today we have a very special guest with us. I have my very close friend from graduation days, Shreya Raj, who went to the United States and did her masters in construction management. And today we'll know more about her journey and what all you can learn from her. So, hello Shreya. First of all, tell us about yourself and your college days, and I mean little bit about your background and how you did your studies and where you went to do your college and about your job also.
Hi Aditya, thank you for having me here today. I, as you know, did my bachelor's in civil engineering from SGS ITS Indore, and that is where we met. So you know all about how college was. During our final year, I think I developed an interest in construction just because you could see what was happening rather than designing on paper where you can't really see the tangible effects of what you've designed. So I wanted to do something where I'm a person who learns from seeing and learning. Like, you can see what is happening, and that is how you understand. So that is when I decided that I wanted to do my master's in construction management. And at that time, India did not have a lot of institutes that were offering construction management. You only had NICMA or one or two other institutes that were. So, given the fact that I thought I had the opportunity to go to one of the best universities in the world that offered construction management programs, I decided that I wanted to give GRE and not go towards MTech. So I ended up preparing for GRE in my final year of engineering. And after a while, after a lot of applications and other processes, which do not seem like a lot of work as compared to MTech, but they can be, I finally got admitted into the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in the US, which is a good school for civil engineering and construction management. And after graduation and taking a couple of months off, I decided to head to Champaign, Illinois. There, it was you have an option of completing your masters in either a year and a half or 2 years. So I opted for the first one where you completed in 1.5 years, which means you have to take more courses per semester and you have to do more schoolwork. But that is something that is achievable, and I did that, and I graduated from there in December of 2015. After that, I did take a 4 month hiatus break, just coming back home, spending time with my parents before joining a company called Mortensen Construction in the US as a field and then project engineer. It so I work. They are a big general contracting firm, and they also do certain engineering and certain development opportunities or projects. So I've been working with them for 5 years now, and I mostly work with sports stadiums.
Hmm.
So I've been on a couple of projects on site and a couple other where I've helped them with cost estimation and budgeting and cost management. So that is my story so far.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and actually, there's a lot to know from you. So, first of all, I would like to know, like you told, you had this interest in construction management because it was more of like something you could see, and the management side of it rather than the designing side. So I want to know, like, even then there were some institutes. So, and other than that, like, okay, you chose that you want to go for MS rather than MTech here in India. So, and then that, as you're telling about like the application processes, and obviously because I was also there, so it takes a lot of effort to do all of that. So, from a student's point of view who is right now in college, I would like to know, like, what are the things they should be focusing on if, let's say, they want to go for MS rather than do MTech in India. So, what are the points they should consider to develop their profile during college days?
I think the most important thing is, first of all, if you really have an interest in pursuing something in the US. The problem with going for MTech, or the problem for going for MS rather than MTech, is that you are making an investment that is really high upfront. So you have to consider the fact that you're okay with making those kind of changes or adjustments right off the bat. So a lot of people, a lot of students that I talk to, friends and family who want to know if they can go to the US, they usually do not consider the amount of fee and the expenses that come along with it. I was fortunate enough to get a research assistantship, which kind of helped me with my studies and the expenses and all of that. So that takes care of it. But a lot of students don't. So you always have to weigh the two options. The second is, what is the exact line you want to go. Sometimes even our country offers some great programs in masters in civil engineering, different branches. If you are looking for something that is not offered in India and just outside, I would say just go for it. But you have to consider a lot of things. Are you okay with living away from family? Do you intend to come back? You just have to be a little more proactive in future planning if you're going out, just so that you're considering everything from a very balanced and well thought of perspective, because of all the time investment and opportunity you're putting into that venture. And I think, as far as how you should build a profile once you've decided that you want to go out, and for your profile, I think the more experience you have hands on, the more internships you have, the better off you are. I think that will help you know what you're getting into, rather than going to a new country and just realizing, oh well, I don't know this. And also, it is a good way to find out if you really have an interest in that field, rather than spending 2 years of your life and not realizing. So I think internships from a profile point of view are very important. Even colleges look at that from during admissions. And of course, academics. If your academics are not good, you will not get into good top notch institutes, and you will get into an institute which probably was not your first choice. So you have to make sure you are in the top 20% of your class. And the other thing is, they have a GPA system of 4. Like, we have a scale of 10 and they have a scale of 4. So you have to make sure that you are on a GPA scale of 3.2 and plus, which is equivalent to 7, in my opinion. That about 7 grade. So it has to be 7 GPA or plus. So as long as you do that, I think you should have a good profile. um, and the rest is, when you go there, you start learning how their systems work. Their construction is obviously much different than ours. They use techniques, so they use material that we don't really use in everyday construction. So those things you can learn, but as long as your basics, your academics are good, you can be considered for admission by any college.
So, on the same line, like, I mean, I myself wouldn't have known back in those days. Even let's say I have a thought of doing studying outside the country, but I have no knowledge about where should I look for and what are the institutes and like what are the programs they are offering and how do I know more about such things, because here it becomes easier to follow the path your seniors have followed, your family, friends, relatives, all those people have followed. So someone who doesn't know much about that field, how can they go? They proceed in that direction.
I think that is a very good question. I would say, first of all, start with Googling the universities that you want to go in. I think start by seeing the ranking, because a lot of people, that gives you, that's a way in to see what all universities offer the programs that you want. So if you go and say, I want to see the top 50 universities for civil engineering, it'll give you a list, and then you can decide which ones. It will even give you what kind of GPAs you need and stuff like that. And then you can go to their website and see their programs under admissions. That is one way of doing it. The other, I always feel like, similar to what you said, that we usually have our seniors who guide us, or you have something in your mind, like you already have an idea that you want to pursue construction management, or you want to go into industrial engineering. And that is how you can start searching for institutes that offer those programs, and then maybe compare programs. A lot of times, a lot of good universities do not have a great curriculum, but, like, and when I say good institutes, I mean the ones with really high ranking. but you will find that number 5 might have a better curriculum. So it's just that you read through that and you make sure that whichever curriculum fits your interest. And the other good thing about the institutes out here is that they're very flexible. They want to make sure that if you're graduating with a degree that you really really understand and you like. Studies are much easier to maneuver around, so you can talk to your advisor. When you come here, you get an advisor and you can talk to them and always switch your programs. So I think that is your route. Like, talk to a lot of friends, talk to a lot of seniors, and a lot of these universities have Facebook pages of like Indian students. It's usually by Indian Graduate Student Association. You can post in there and ask questions, and people will be more than willing to help you. So it is basically a mix of both. You reach out to people you know, and you also reach out to the website and make sure that you go and see what programs they have. I just have one piece of advice: when you're reaching out to seniors, make sure you reach out to somebody who's graduated within in the last 3 to 4 years.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying that nobody beyond that is happy to help you. It's just that they have a better idea of what the university right now is, because the changes are so rapid. So it will be helpful if you find that. And if you don't find somebody new, you only know somebody who graduated 10 years ago, ask them if they know somebody.
Hmm. So, next question I would like to ask you about the preparation part. Like here, a lot of people consider right away preparing for MTech, even if they are considering higher education. And obviously, if you are going to the US, then you have to give GRE and TOEFL, something like that. So, what do you think? Is it possible to manage the both, or one is more difficult than the other? And what should be the approach for someone who wants to prepare for GRE?
Okay, so I'll answer this one by one. I think for a person who wants to give GRE, I would say, first of all, make sure you go online, you Google what are the requirements so that you know what you're getting into. Then I personally had chosen like an institute who would help you prepare for GRE. They had classes and they had they would teach you English classes, they would teach you math problems and stuff like that. And GRE is more about what is your basic understanding of things, because they believe if you've already done your bachelor's, you know the technical stuff. But they want to make sure that if you're giving GRE and you're coming into the United States, you understand what they're teaching and you know what you're getting into. So I would say if you are able to join a class like that, that is a good place. It sends you in a routine, so you are not left alone. Otherwise, a lot of people, when they are to do these things on their own, you just don't maintain that discipline. But otherwise, you can go and get books like Barron's, Kaplan, all of these, and start going through the word list. So GRE is made up of two parts. One is English language or qualitative analysis, and one is quantitative analysis. So qualitative is more about how you understand reading comprehension, sentence completions, and quantitative is more about math. So the English part, I always believe a lot of it you can do on your own, because you have to learn a lot of words and you almost will know half of the dictionary by the time you finish it. But it's more about you have to just know them. So you can start off there before you join a class so that you're at least half prepared by then, and then the class can refine you, because sentence completions can be a little tricky, or writing essays can be a bit tricky. And a lot of times like English is not our first language, so chances are that most of us need help. And so those classes can come in really handy, because the way they tell you how the examiner is expecting those essays is really important. The other thing is math. Same thing. We all know class 10, class 12 math, but how to apply it in a timely fashion, that is something that these classes will teach you. So I think that is a good opportunity. But I've also seen people who do not go to classes and still crack GRE with awesome scores. So I would say start online and make sure you know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And once you're done with a little bit of both, little bit of math, little bit of words, I would say go and take one of the free tests that you can find online to gauge where you stand, which sections or which areas you need to study more, prepare more. So that is how I think GRE preparations go. Now, for somebody who wants to give both MTech and GRE, I think it's not that you can't do it. You can, but I mean, I personally feel like I did not prepare for both because you have to. I was too determined to go outside, but you can always do both. One is talking about technicality, one is talking about the foundation of that technicality. So, but you would just need more time because gate always requires more. Gate is more time intensive,
Hmm.
and they both will take a lot of time. So you will have to spend 2 years of your life just concentrating on both exams, which can be too much. But it's not that it cannot be done.
Now, coming to the next question, I would like to know about the nature of your job and what kind of work that you got to do. Initially, you told me in brief that you got to work in this company called Mortensen, and they worked on stadiums and similar such projects. So, tell us a little bit more about that kind of work.
So my company Mortensen, they work on a lot of different projects, and sports is one of them. But they have wind energy projects where they construct wind turbines and wind farms. They have solar projects where they're basically building solar farms. We also have data centers that we build. We have hospitals, schools, and other like convention centers, all of these commercial buildings. So you will find that companies in the US are basically divided into two types: one that does commercial construction and one that does not. So my company is all about commercial construction. So they have different wings. If you don't like to be on site, you can be an estimator. So then you have to do quantitative analysis and estimating, like how we do, how much brick, how much wood you would require, and all of that stuff. The other job opportunity that these companies have is of a scheduler. If you like working in P6 and how scheduling works, how the project schedule should be, that is another avenue to go. The third avenue is being a quality personnel. If you are really interested in championing how things should be, how standards should be, quality is another area you could pursue your career in. And last but not the least is operations. So operations is basically what I'm a part of right now. Is you're on site. You have your hands dirty in everything. You start from the day. You're basically like a liaison between your design team and your owner's rep. So you have to make sure that whatever design is being provided to you is constructible, and you have to make sure that it happens. So a lot of times, as you know, like designers have this vision, but in order to construct that vision, there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges that you face. What goes after what? Yes, we all know that a wall has to be built before paint can be applied to it. But do I build the wall first? Do I put MEP first? What do I do? So that kind of coordination is what a general contractor does, and it also manages subcontractors so that the owner doesn't have to do it directly. Now, so in my job, it is a hectic job to say, because construction in the US starts very early. So you have to be in the office at 6 a.m., and you start with making sure everybody knows what the plan is for today and for the coming weeks. And then you go about, you answer questions from your subcontractors, and then you go to your design team. If you cannot answer them, you go to them if it's a design problem. You make sure that the designers are talking amongst each other, because sometimes your structural engineer is a different firm and your electrical engineer is a different firm. Now whatever change a structure is making might not relate to the electrical engineer on time, so it is your duty, because you are the one constructing it, to make sure that they understand that this change is going to make changes to their electrical system. So we need to coordinate. Can the wall be any wider, or should the wall be any thinner, and stuff like that. Now another part of operations comes with management of cost. Now, every time you go and say, okay, I will build a project, you're giving them a lump sum amount, or an amount, whatever your contract type is, cost plus, lump sum, TNM, whatever. You're saying, I will build this project in this much amount. Now, any changes to that is cost management or change management. The owner wants to change something. So, all of that kind of work is basically what we do. And I would say the one upside of working on big commercial projects is that you're dealing with all of this on a very, very large scale. Housing projects are as difficult as commercial projects, but they're usually on a smaller scale.
Hmm.
So that is what my company does. The same goes for wind farms, the same goes for solar farms. It's just that the nature of work keeps changing depending on what the project is, but the core work remains the same. You have to manage the schedule because in a contract, when you sign a contract, you're signing a schedule. So you have to maintain the schedule, you have to maintain the cost, you have to maintain the quality of work, and you also have to maintain the build. You have to give a project at the right time with the right quality. So that is what I do.
So another question that I would like to ask is, seeing the construction in our country and the kind of construction that you have been working on. So what are the differences that you see in terms of materials, in terms of scale, and in terms of equipments also? And is it really that much different, or is it something similar to what we see around us?
I think construction in its very core form is very similar, but like you said, material. In India, we're still using a lot of concrete. Our buildings are mostly concrete based. Steel is coming in, but we don't use steel in everything. In the US, in my experience, they are very high on steel construction, and concrete and steel almost go hand in hand. The other thing is, for example, our walls are usually built with bricks or concrete. Most of the interior partition walls in the United States are made up of gypsum board, and we call it drywall. And I think, I don't know if it was just me, but when I had moved to the United States, I just had heard the word gypsum board, but I did not know what they were because back when we were studying, we were never taught about gypsum board. It was all about, you put a wall, and civil engineering was more about forces, how that goes. So that is different. It does take quite a while to get used to all of that, but it also depends on you. If you're down in the field every day, you will pick it up really quick because ultimately the engineering portion of it is the same. It's more about the material. So picking up on it is really easy and fast, but it's just those subtle differences that take a little bit of time for you to understand. The other difference I feel like is measurement systems. We use SI, like in India, we use SI units, and in the United States, you are using the imperial system, and which can create an issue, especially when you are starting out. It still takes. Now I'm very used to it, but when I had first started, it would take me a minute to kind of gauge and make sure feet and inches and not meters and kilometers. So those kind of things you have to keep in mind, especially when you're trying to be precise.
I would like
And
to
if you're
add something to that. Like in India, what happens is, because uh, earlier this SI system was not in place. So if you are, even now, if you are going in field, so it is kind of a very difficult situation, because all the calculations and all your units you'll be studying and converting. I mean, you'll be making that plan in meters and kilometers or whatever, and then in the field, when you have to explain it to the people, you have to explain it in terms of inches and feet and all that. So here also, even though we say it's all SI unit, but in field the reality is still different than that.
but yes, but I agree. So if you're going into design, I think it will be a little bit of a shock for you because you have to do all your calculations in a very weird system, and suddenly everything looks out of proportion. But that is again nothing that you cannot learn. It takes a little while, about a few months, and then you get a hang of it.
So moving on to the next question. Now I would like to ask you about the skill set that you think that you have now, and in over 5 years that you have worked already. And I mean, looking back from here, me, you, all of us have certain thoughts like we should have learned this during college, or this could have been better if we had done this during our college. So I would like to know what are the things you learned and you would like to tell the next generation who are in college right now, or who are trying to do better. What are the things that they can focus on so that they don't have to go through the same things that we went through?
I think I would say go out in the field as much as you can. uh, during our civil engineering, I think we were more inclined towards how to run tests. We were more in the lab, and I understand that it was a civil engineering program and not a construction only program. But looking at my colleagues here who went through civil engineering and their curriculum, I think they were more on field. They had more of an hands-on experience. So right now, when I go to the field, I know the theory behind things, but I haven't really done it myself. Like, okay, I know a duct should go here and this is how your wall should go, but have we ever seen it in field, right? Like that experience. Now I can go out on site and I can tell people, oh, this is wrong or this isn't, it won't work. But when you're just starting out, today's your first day or in the first week, and you kind of get overwhelmed because people around you will know a lot more about construction with like hands-on experience rather than you. So whenever you get a chance, opt to go out on field rather than staying inside if you want to go for construction management. And as far as skill set go, I think, of course, in 5 years of work you will learn a lot of things that you won't have when you start. You become more confident in your approach towards things. You learn a lot, like, okay, is this buildable or not. In design we go for like, okay, my forces need to go here, but when you're out on site you realize, okay, just because this will work from a design perspective, it might not be constructible. Because say you have to weld a plate on, now for your design you should weld the plate on, and you could, like, there's space, I can weld it. But when you're out on site you will see, oh well, if I have to get a welder in there, there's not enough space for the welder to move or to weld things on. So all of these things you will learn only if you go out on site and spend enough time with people in the field. But at least I've been fortunate that people here have never used that against, like, oh, you don't know this. Yes, you do feel like you need to work harder than others because you don't know all of this. But if you ask a question, people will be more than willing to help you out. So don't be afraid. Like, even if you come out here and you don't know, it's fine. But if you have a chance, just go and out and make sure that you know how construction is actually happening in the field. And with time you will learn how to be more confident in your approach, how to negotiate things. And negotiating doesn't only mean bartering in local markets, but the actual negotiation of what looks okay or what looks high. So those are the things that I do believe will come with experience. But yes, if you get a chance, just go out, make sure you're getting your hands dirty, and don't be afraid of that.
So coming back to the education part, I just thought of another question that, as you told that you have to consider the expenses that you will be giving, and obviously the university fees is also very high. So are there courses that offer full scholarship, and how likely a person is to get into such programs?
So there are definitely courses that offer full scholarship during admissions. They're very less in number, very few. So of course the competition is really high for those positions. But most of those, in my experience, I've seen there are two types of courses: thesis courses and non-thesis courses. For non-thesis courses, you're basically going in there and finishing your coursework and getting out of college. With thesis programs, you're actually participating in an active research of the with the professor, with any professor in your department. So chances of so most of the times you do a thesis masters, and in that case you can be a research assistant or a teaching assistant to a professor in your department. In my experience, I've seen master students do thesis programs, but I've also seen most of them being PhD students. So if you're going for PhD, you will always be on a scholarship because part of PhD is helping out with the research for 5 years. It's not that you cannot find it, but non-thesis courses are easier to get into than thesis courses because the university is investing in you from a research perspective. They're going to spend time, money, and opportunity for you to come and help them on research. So they're more difficult to get in, and for that, you should actually have a fabulous research background where you have proven that in your 4 years of engineering, you've spent a lot of time researching. But it's not like you get admitted into a thesis program, and you, if you don't want to do a thesis, you can always convert to non-thesis. And the same goes for non-thesis. With non-thesis, you would need to prove to your professor why you should be considered for a thesis program. But uh, universities in the United States are very flexible. Like I said before, like they want to make sure that whatever you're studying is the best fit for you and for the field that you will be joining. So they work with you to make sure that you are being the best student you can be, and it is helping everybody out in both directions. It's not kind of set in stone that, oh no, you came in here for a non-thesis and you will stick to a non-thesis. You can always shift, provided you have the capacity, the profile, and the university needs another thesis student.
So I think that was all the questions from my side. So, but before we part, I have this last question that, I mean, first of all, if you have any advice for the students who want to make their career in this field and who want to go outside the country as well, and also like how can they decide on how much time they would really need of all of this? Let's say if someone is going out, so MS is of 2 years, but at the same time, a lot of people want to work also outside, and they also plan to come back later at some point. So, what do you think is the optimal time where they can do all of this and gain sufficient experience that when they come back to the country, they have sufficient know-how of things and they can have a great career in the country itself?
I think one piece of advice I would give to anybody who's considering moving to the United States for studies is, uh, make sure you understand what you're giving, giving into the program. So a lot of people think that jobs are easy to get, that okay, if I do MS today from any university, I will get a job. It is not as easy. So you have to understand that you are putting in a lot of money and time into something that might not be fruitful. So you have to understand the risks. For a lot of people, it's about education. They believe that, education won't go to a waste. So, and I know we grew up like that, like you and I. So we would be okay with it. But again, if you cannot like, I don't want somebody to land or end up with a 20 lakh loan, which will take them forever to pay off if they don't get a job in the United States. So you have to understand the risks that come with it. And jobs in the US are not like in India, how they have placements, right? That they come and they will come and hire from your batch, and they usually have in mind that they will hire 5 people. No, jobs in the US are career fairs. So there's a big fair in which all the companies that are looking to hire come, and you have to go basically sell yourself in terms of like why you should hire me. So I personally feel that actually finding a job in the US and getting one is really, really hard. It is not as easy as in India, because when companies come in placements, they usually have a specific number in mind. And they're coming to your college because they want to hire. Now, these companies, they go to every university in their area. So you're competing with almost 5 times more applicants than what you would do in your own college. And just the whole process of the interview is not very easy. You have to go through multiple levels of interviews, and you have to convince a lot of different people why they should hire you. And I feel like that of all is can be very, in my opinion, I've seen friends who it can be very hard on them. And so you have to kind of weigh those options, and also what kind of work you want to do in life. If you are looking for something as like, no, I want to be a civil servant and I want to stick with those kind of jobs, MS is not probably the thing for you, because working in the US is very different as in India. You're not starting at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. unless you're a design engineer. And no offense to design engineers, but if you're in construction, you start at 6, you start at 5. And it's not like if we start at 5, you're coming back at 1 or 2. You will be at work until 5. So it's a 12-hour day. Life gets tough in those senses. So I always give this advice, like, coming to the US actually sounds a lot more fun than it really is. So you have to understand the effort and all the things that you will be putting in. You're away from family. You will make friends. You will make friends for a lifetime. That I can guarantee, because when all of you are away, you make friends for a lifetime. But you're doing all your work on your own, like all your household chores on your own. Even though the standard of living is high, there's still things like, yeah, you still have to put your dishes in a dishwasher. Nobody else is coming and doing it for you. And it, it's just those things. When you're working full time, you're working 12 to 13-hour days, and this is when you come home and you have to do all of this by yourself. It starts to get to you. So make sure you weigh those options even in college. As far as the time goes, I think 2 years for your MS, and if you are in a STEM course, some after US lets you work after your graduation for 3 years on your student visa. So after those 3 years, you have to find an employer who can sponsor your work visa so that you could work on an H-1B. Now, an H-1B is valid for a total of 6 years. So I would say in a totality of 10 years is what you're looking at if you decide to work here temporarily and want to go back. And in my opinion, 10 years is a good time, because by the time you come for your masters and leave, you're at that age where you're starting to put down the roots. So it's a good time to come back in 10 years. But again, a lot of it depends if you have already built a life that you don't want to leave. A lot of times you will get married, you will find friends, and you will have a life in the US which you cannot leave or you don't want to leave. So it's up to personal choice. Sometimes it's just that you haven't found a company in India for work that you want to do, and sometimes you will find opportunities come your way, and suddenly one day you're working and the next day you decide that you want to move back home. So it is all about situations and opportunities and the challenges that you will be facing that will mold you as a person and decide what you want to do. Sometimes a lot of people leave because of family obligations, sometimes they stay because they just like it. The freedom that is associated with living in the US seems seems like a golden ball that you want to hold on to, but definitely comes with its own price. So I would say just talk to somebody who's out there, somebody who would give you candid advice on what life is, because when we are in India, life in the US seems very rosy. That's not always the case. It has its ups and downs. So does it in India, but definitely I would say talk to somebody who you can count on for giving you the right advice.
I think that's everything from my side, and it was really helpful to know the details. And I mean, we got a lot of points, and a lot of students would find it useful to understand and know about these things. And if any of you have any more questions, you can write down in comments, and we can directly get the answers from her. And with that, we would like to say goodbye to this conversation. And later on, if you need some more advice, we can get directly from her. So thank you, Shreya, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.